What
Wow.
happens when you are in an emergency is that you're either running so fast or you freeze and you isolate, and you are no longer in the day-to-day rhythm of everybody else that you know. And when
Yep.
people stop seeing you out and about, or people don't see you at the events, that they used to see you at, they stop thinking about inviting you because they assume you're not there. I literally had like no social life because I was always on a plane and I was always working. And I think this is true with a lot of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship, especially for women, is brutally lonely.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think back to, seasons of my life where our kids were younger and our kids were all in the same rhythm. And
Yep.
so I had this huge group of female friends when our daughters were really young. And we were together all the time because we were a play group, or we would see each other at daycare drop off, or then they started in school and everybody's playing town soccer. And so you're standing on the sidelines. It was the most social period of my life. I felt like I was back in college because every Friday, every Saturday, there were barbecues. People were together. It was like a squad of 12 couples and kids all over. It was so much fun. And then middle school hit. And
Yeah.
all the kids go in different directions and play different sports, and everybody starts to get busy. And that's also right when Chris left his restaurant business and I stepped in and did whatever it was going to take
Yeah.
to pay our bills because we were in a financial free fall. And
Yeah.
I literally, from the moment that my kids were in middle school, our daughters who are now, almost graduated from college, I literally have been running in survival mode. And that's also what dropped out, the connection to community, because all my success began in an emergency.
Mm.
And what
Wow.
happens when you are in an emergency is that you're either running so fast or you freeze and you isolate, and you are no longer in the day-to-day rhythm of everybody else that you know. And when
Yep.
people stop seeing you out and about, or people don't see you at the events, that they used to see you at, they stop thinking about inviting you because they assume you're not there. And so it kind of was a slow build, but within about 5 years of that emergency happening financially, I literally had like no social life because I was always on a plane and I was always working. And I can see that I have, and I think this is true with a lot of entrepreneurs, that just because you and I are in the speaking and the media business does not mean it's a different experience if you're running a catering business or a photography business, or you got a retail store, or you're selling products online. Entrepreneurship, especially for women, is brutally lonely.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and there is so much insecurity that you feel because, whatever, a bias, or there's insecurity that you feel because you're selling. There's insecurity that you feel because you're worried that your friends are going to judge you. There's insecurity that you feel because you're not a full-time mom. And so you get it a bazillion different ways. And so I know that even though I'm talking about an acute crisis, a particular type of business, I think most people who are entrepreneurs struggle with loneliness. And the way that I dealt with it is not by stepping toward community, because I had a story that I didn't have any time. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
tired at the end of the day running a business. How do I have time to invest in relationships right now? And we fill our loneliness by staying busy.
Right. And you know what's fascinating, and what I want to urge everyone listening and you to think about, is that never in the history of our lifetime, or even our parents' lifetime, has there been a global slowdown, like a collective moment that the entire world experienced all at once, right? Like, when does that ever happen? And I feel like we are given this incredible opportunity right now, this invitation to move forward in a new way, right? Like I loved COVID in the sense of like nobody was inviting me anywhere, so I didn't have to say no, right? But now I'm like, okay, wait, when they say it takes a village, do I have a village? Like when they say motherhood takes a village or entrepreneurship or marriage or whatever, I think a lot of us are looking around and it's like, we don't have villages, but let's talk about part of why. It's because I think a lot of us are white knuckling things. You talk about being in this place where it was survival mode. That's like white knuckle central, right?
Mhm.
And asking for help for me, there's actually a chapter in my book all about asking for help and how I, for so long, was like, I got it, I got it, I got it, until life forced me to say, I need help. Full stop. No, iterations or no asterisks of why. I need help. What has it looked like for you in survival mode when you recognize like, I cannot white knuckle this anymore? I need to invite people into my life to support me, whether it's as simple as Uber Eats and getting grocery delivery or as complex as hiring a new team member. Cause you're doing both,
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for me, it required me to slam into a brick wall and be like one breath away from needing to have an inpatient commit. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was so stubborn in my ways that I just ran until I hit a wall. And interestingly, it's in that breakdown that the help showed up. And I am aware, and I think especially the women watching this, you need to be aware that we assume too much responsibility for things. And when we assume that we are responsible for everything, or we have a story that nobody's going to do it for me anyways, it's easier if I just do it myself, then you're not actually creating room for somebody else to help you. And so when I had a breakdown in my business right when COVID started to hit, I just had a bunch of serendipitous things happen where somebody that we're really good friends with, Brenda Burchard, reached out just to network and say hi and to build community, because he makes it part of what he's doing, which is why he has community. And it was in him reaching out that I realized I really need help. I told him what was going on, and boom, like all of a sudden I'm not alone. All of a sudden I have advice around me. And that has created just a total, complete domino effect in my life, where I have made a decision. I'm not freaking doing this on my own anymore. I'm tired of being lonely. I'm tired of having to reinvent the wheel every time. It's so much more fun to even reach out to other people and just ask them, well, what are their thoughts on something that you're thinking about? And so that was the beginning of a completely different way of thinking about things and doing things.
So if you could share a tool that anyone could implement in a final thought about asking for help or seeking out community, what is something that someone that's watching this could do today to start to invite help or community into their life?
I think one tool is notice how you opt out. So there are lots of opportunities, whether it's attending lectures or taking a class or, just lots of opportunities in your local community to go do something you normally wouldn't do with a group of people. And we don't show up for those things. And that's the fastest way to meet people. That's how you met all your best friends who were in your mother's group. That's how it's how you meet anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I think the other thing with asking for help is just, how like we all have this muscle where if you're stuck as you're doing something online, you're like, oh, I'll just Google it.
Yeah.
There is a human version of that.
Yes. Yes. Whoa. Yes. There's this part in the book, and I think it got cut, but we were talking about how there's this advice that every person should have one person that's one generation ahead of them, guiding them. And then we should be guiding someone that's one generation behind us. And I feel like we've lost some of that. And I feel like there's so much wealth in learning from people who have gone before us, but also learning as we're leading. I know as a mom, like there's so many lessons where I'm like, oh, I don't want Coco to watch screens. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Or I want Coco to feel her feelings. How am I suppressing my feelings? And like, I think that there's this idea here that you said, like there's a human version of Google. There's so much richness to be had that like a Merriam-Webster can't give us in experience and knowledge and sharing that with others. And I think that that's something that we can all learn to do.
Yeah. And I think one other thing is just kind of what you were talking about, which is you're not like, it's like asking for help. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes somebody else feel really empowered.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.